Today, I want to celebrate the richness of faith, culture, heritage, and diversity within our communities. We often speak about them like they are two separate things, when in fact they're very deeply intertwined. Before I get into this talk, I wanted to just give a brief overview of what is culture, because I think it's something that people confuse, also look at it through a very narrow lens. So according to the UN, culture is something that refers to collective beliefs, values, customs, and practices that characterize a particular group or society. It can encompass language, religion, art, and social norms, shaping how an individual interacts with society, but also how individuals interact with one another. It can include customs and traditions and habits, values and beliefs, language and symbols, and food and art, which is often more well understood. Religion and belief are included in this definition, and in many definitions, if you look at what is the wheel of culture, faith and belief is within that. But in secular institutions, when we talk about culture, faith dimensions can often be overlooked, and instead culture can become reduced to ethnicity or country of origin. So, for example, if you've been to a cultural celebration in that kind of context, you'll see things like flags everywhere, people wearing traditional clothing and food. And while these are all really important and they are significant parts of culture, they don't tell the whole story, because culture is quite complex, it's dynamic, and it's constantly evolving. And many cultural traditions, values, and ways of living have developed over centuries, even before these modern nation states, which we tend to associate culture with. And they come from a society where faith was front and center of a lot of people's ways of life. And when culture is viewed only through that lens of ethnicity or nationality, we can get into a habit of assuming that everyone is the same from this particular group or place, and that they share the same experiences, the same values, and they have the same needs. But in reality, people's needs are shaped by many factors, and faith is an important part of that. We know that we have a very large global faith community, and in London, there's 71% of people who follow a faith. And faith shapes many people's lives and how they live, how they come to work, how they interact and engage in society. And in the workplace, as colleagues, and if you work in the public sector and you're serving the community, is really, really important to understand faith. It's just not a nice to have, it's essential, because it helps us to better understand our colleagues, but also helps us understand the communities that we are here to serve. And when we talk about public services and delivering services that meets the needs of our communities, these needs cannot be, and these services cannot be delivered out of context or in a one-size-fits-all approach. It's about delivering services that meets the needs of our communities, and it's about equity. It's about recognizing that people's experiences and identities can be shaped by their faith, their culture, their heritage and ethnicity, and other things as well. And faith and ethnicity can also transcend ethnic, nationality and cultural backgrounds, and it can bring together people from diverse communities through a shared religious belief or philosophical traditions. And equally, people who share an ethnicity doesn't mean that they all have the same traditions, the same beliefs, and the same values and the way of living. So I also want to note that faith communities are also incredibly diverse. So all faith traditions aren't the same either. And it's also worth remembering that faith and culture, yes, faith can influence culture, but they are not the exact same thing. Because while faith inspires cultural traditions, faith communities can also challenge certain cultural customs which they feel go against their values and belief systems. So in this way, faith doesn't only preserve culture, it can also be a force for social change and renewal. So these are just some reflections on a very important subject, and it would be good to know what you think and how we can represent culture a bit more inclusively within the workplace and within public sector institutions.